Introduction to Just War Theory, Section 1. Good morning, everyone. Today we begin our exploration of just war theory, an ethical framework that has shaped debates about violence, politics, and morality for over 1,500 years. The central tension is this: war is destructive, devastating, and deeply tragic. Most people agree that war should be avoided, and yet history shows us that human societies repeatedly go to war, just war. Theory attempts to answer the difficult question: can war ever be morally justified? And if so, under what conditions? This theory does not glorify war. Instead, it tries to establish moral boundaries, to say that while war may sometimes be necessary, it must never be unlimited or unchecked. What is just war theory? At its core, just war theory is an ethical guideline. It doesn't ask whether war is good. It assumes that war is always tragic. Instead, it asks, when is it permissible to go to war? How should war be conducted once it has begun? It functions as a moral compass, attempting to restrain violence rather than to encourage it. The basic premise: the idea behind just war is that while pacifism calls for absolute non-violence and realism accepts war as inevitable, just war theory tries to walk a middle path. On one side, pacifists argue that violence is never acceptable. On the other side, political realists argue that might makes right, that states will always act in their own interest, regardless of morality. Just war thinkers step in and say, there must be moral limits. War may sometimes be necessary, but not all wars are justifiable, and even justified wars must be fought in just ways. Key questions of just war theory. There are two guiding questions that structure the entire theory. When is it just to go to war? This is called jus ad bellum, the justice of war. It sets the criteria for whether starting a war is morally legitimate. How should war be conducted once it begins? This is called jus in bello, justice in war. It establishes rules for conduct during war, such as protecting civilians and limiting destruction. Later, some modern thinkers also added a third category, jus post bellum, or justice after war, criteria for peace settlements and rebuilding after conflict. But traditionally, the focus has been on jus ad bellum and jus in bello. Why just war theory matters. Just war theory is not simply an abstract philosophy. It has had real influence on international law, on the rules of armed conflict, and on the moral debates surrounding wars in history. For example, today's Geneva Conventions, which protect prisoners of war, prohibit targeting civilians, and ban certain weapons, are heavily influenced by just war principles. Leaders throughout history have justified or opposed wars by appealing to just war criteria. And for us, as students of religion, politics, and ethics, just war theory forces us to wrestle with the deep moral dilemmas of violence. It asks us, when, if ever, is it right to fight, and how do we fight without losing our humanity? Closing transition. So, in this introduction, we've seen that just war theory is not about promoting war. It is about limiting and regulating it. It seeks a path between pacifism and realism, offering criteria for both entering and conducting war. In our next section, we'll turn to the historical origins of just war theory, looking at how it emerged from ancient traditions in China, India, and the Hebrew Bible, and how Christian thinkers like Augustine developed it into a formal doctrine.